All right, so you wanted to really get into total productive maintenance.
TPM.
Yeah, TPM. And wasn't take a deep dive into it today with this white paper.
Okay.
And, it's not just theory we're talking about.
Right.
Real world impacts on businesses, manufacturing businesses.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is that TPM, it's been around for over 50 years.
Oh, wow.
But it's really gaining traction now with all the tech advancements.
I can see why.
And just the competitive pressure out there,
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's become absolutely crucial for maximizing productivity.
For sure. And I mean, this white paper goes right into the benefits.
Yeah.
And it's not even just about saving money.
Right.
Although, I mean, who wouldn't want to slash downtime and maintenance costs?
Of course, yeah.
Think about like hundreds of thousands of dollars back in your pocket.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the bottom line.
Yeah.
TPM can actually create a safer, more satisfying work environment for your team.
Oh, wow.
Boost overall efficiency and ultimately lead to greater returns on investment.
Music to any business leader's ears, right?
Absolutely.
But before we get lost in all the dollar signs,
Yeah.
let's break down what TPM is really all about.
So at its core, TPM aims for perfect production.
Perfect production.
I know it sounds like a lofty goal.
Yeah.
But it's really about striving for zero breakdowns, no accidents, and no defects.
Okay.
It's about creating a culture where everyone from the operators to IT teams
Wow.
are all working together to achieve that goal.
So it's not just like a maintenance strategy. It's like a whole cultural shift.
It really is, yeah.
It almost sounds too good to be true. Like, how do they even measure
Right.
something like perfect production?
Yeah, that's where the overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE, rating scale comes in.
Okay.
And it's really the gold standard for measuring TPM success.
Right.
And it's looking at factors like availability, performance, and quality to give you a comprehensive view of how well your equipment is running.
So that's like our report card.
Exactly.
For TPM. So, okay.
It tells us how close we are to that perfect production ideal.
I got it. Okay, so we've established that TPM has been around for decades.
Yeah.
Why is it all of a sudden, like...
Yeah, why now?
Why is it so popular?
Well, think about it. Technology has advanced so much that data collection and analysis are more accessible than ever before.
Yeah.
We can track equipment performance in real time.
Oh, wow.
Identify patterns and make proactive decisions.
Gotcha.
Plus, competition is just fiercer than ever.
Right.
Companies are looking for any edge they can get.
Of course.
And TPM offers a really systematic approach to squeezing out every bit of efficiency.
That's smart. It's like being smarter about it and being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly.
I see. I see. And this white paper that we're going through really highlights that proactive approach with its breakdown of the 8 pillars of TPM.
Yes, the 8 pillars.
8 pillars. That's quite the foundation.
And it is. And they all build upon a foundation of safety and cleanliness. We'll go into detail on a few that I think you'll find particularly interesting.
Okay.
Let's start with autonomous maintenance.
Autonomous maintenance. Okay, what is that?
So it's all about empowering operators to take ownership of their equipment.
Okay.
They're the ones on the front lines.
Right.
They're in the best position to spot potential problems early on.
Makes sense.
Autonomous maintenance gives them the tools and training to handle routine tasks.
Okay.
Like cleaning, lubricating, inspecting their machines.
So it's more than just following like a checklist or something?
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility.
Okay, so like what kind of results are we talking about?
Well, the white paper mentions a company that implemented autonomous maintenance.
Okay.
And they saw a 15% reduction in downtime.
Wow.
Saving them $50,000 per quarter.
That's incredible.
Think about what you could do with that kind of savings.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Right.
Exactly.
But what about those issues that require more than just, routine maintenance?
Well, that's where planned maintenance comes in.
Okay.
This pillar is all about using data to your advantage.
Sure.
We're talking about analyzing historical data, tracking equipment performance, and identifying trends to create a proactive maintenance schedule.
So instead of waiting for something to break down, we're kind of anticipating potential problems and addressing them
precisely
before they cause disruptions.
Planned maintenance can significantly reduce those costly unplanned shutdowns and keep your production running smoothly.
Makes perfect sense. But what about the quality of the product itself?
Yes.
How does TPM address defects and making sure we're meeting those high standards?
That's where the quality maintenance pillar comes in.
Okay.
And this is all about getting to the root cause of any defects.
Okay.
rather than just fixing the symptoms.
So not just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly. It's about analyzing the entire production process, identifying those weak points, and implementing solutions to prevent defects from happening in the first place.
So being proactive again.
Exactly.
So it's a much more like proactive and effective approach than simply reacting to problems after they occur.
Absolutely.
But TPM goes even further than that, right? It's about continuously improving those processes.
Yes.
Not just maintaining the status quo.
That's right. And that's where focused improvement comes in.
Okay.
A pillar that's deeply rooted in the Kaizen philosophy.
Kaizen, can you break that down for us a little?
Of course.
Some of us might not be familiar.
So Kaizen is a Japanese term that essentially means continuous improvement.
Oh.
It's a core principle of lean manufacturing.
Right.
And it's about making small, incremental changes over time
Right.
that ultimately lead to significant improvements in efficiency and quality.
So it's not about making huge sweeping changes.
No.
It's about just that steady, consistent effort to do things better.
That's it. And focused improvement embraces that philosophy by encouraging everyone in the organization to identify areas for improvement and contribute their ideas and solutions.
So tapping into that collective wisdom of the entire team.
Exactly.
And creating that culture where everyone's striving to do things better.
Absolutely.
But can't forget about the machines themselves, right?
You're thinking about early equipment management.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. How does that fit into the whole TPM framework?
So early equipment management is all about applying the principles of TPM to the design and selection of new equipment.
Oh, okay.
It's about thinking ahead, anticipating those potential maintenance issues, and choosing equipment that's designed for reliability and ease of maintenance.
So it's not just about maintaining existing equipment, it's about making smart choices from the get-go.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that can have a huge impact on your overall productivity and costs in the long run.
This is all starting to come together, but I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
We have...
Of these 8 pillars,
yes,
we got a few more we need to unpack, right?
That's right. We still have training and education, safety, health and environment, and TPM and administration to explore.
Wow.
And each of those plays a crucial role in the overall success of TPM.
I bet.
But for now, I think let's focus on those 4 pillars that we've already covered.
Okay, sounds good.
Don't want to overwhelm anyone with too much information at once.
Right.
But before we move on, I want to emphasize that data is the lifeblood of TPM.
Okay.
It's what allows us to track performance, identify those trends, and make informed decisions.
That makes sense. And speaking of data, the white paper tells a pretty fascinating story.
Oh, yeah.
About this South African petrochemical plant that was struggling with inconsistent data in their system. They had over 1,100 different reason codes for job failures.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot.
Trying to analyze that.
It was a complete mess. They were drowning in data, but they were lacking any real insights.
Right.
Their main problem actually turned out to be parts availability.
Oh, wow.
Which was causing huge amounts of wasted time and money.
Oh, no.
But because their data was so disorganized, it was impossible to see that.
It's like you can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
So how did they solve that data dilemma?
So they implemented a mobile maintenance app from a company called Sigga.
Okay.
And this app helped them standardize their data input.
Oh, okay.
Making it much easier to analyze and identify those root causes.
So that's a really good example of how technology can be a powerful tool.
It really can.
For streamlining data collection and making it actually useful.
Absolutely.
But even with all the best data in the world, implementing TPM can still seem kind of daunting.
It can, yeah.
Like, where do you even begin?
You're right. It can seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the key is to start small and think big.
Okay.
The white paper outlines a 5-step implementation process.
That can guide you through the journey.
A 5-step process. All right, let's break it down. What's the first step?
Okay. So the first step is to identify a pilot area. This could be a particular bottleneck in your production process, maybe the area that gives you the biggest headaches, or a smaller section where you think you can score a quick win and build some momentum.
So kind of like a test run before you go all in on the entire operation.
Exactly. It lets you get a feel for the process.
Yeah.
Iron out any kinks before scaling up.
That makes sense. All right, so we've got our pilot area. What's next?
Okay, so step 2 is all about restoring that equipment to its prime condition. Think of it like giving your workhorse a complete makeover.
All right.
This is where the 5S system comes in.
The 5S system, I've heard of this.
Sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain.
So it's more than just like a deep cleaning.
It is. It's about creating a clean, organized, and efficient workspace.
Right.
That becomes the foundation for all your TPM efforts. So it sets the stage for all those continuous improvement initiatives we were talking about.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got a clean slate. We're ready to roll. What's next?
Okay, step 3 is where the data really comes into play.
Okay.
It's time to measure your overall equipment effectiveness.
Great.
Or OEE.
Right.
Within that pilot area.
OEE.
Remember, OEE looks at availability, performance, and quality to pinpoint those areas where you're losing the most productivity.
So we're using data to identify those hidden leaks, like in our production process, the areas where we can make the biggest impact.
Precisely.
And once you've identified those major losses, what's step 4?
Step 4 is all about addressing them head-on.
Okay.
This involves collaborative root cause analysis. Getting your team together to really dig deep and understand the underlying reasons for those losses.
Yeah.
Then you implement solutions during planned downtime to minimize disruption to your production schedule.
So it's a team effort, using data to drive those decisions and strategically addressing those issues.
Absolutely.
This is where that cultural shift that we talked about really starts to take shape.
It really does, yeah. TPM is all about empowering everyone in the organization to contribute to continuous improvement.
Right.
And finally, step 5 is implementing plan and maintenance.
Right.
Which we discussed earlier.
And maintenance, right?
It's about developing those proactive maintenance schedules based on equipment needs and the data you've gathered.
So instead of reacting to breakdowns, we're anticipating them.
Exactly.
And addressing them before they impact our production.
Precisely.
So this whole 5-step process is kind of like a roadmap to TPM success.
It is. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
TPM is all about that continuous improvement mindset.
Right.
Always striving for that perfect production ideal.
This is all incredibly insightful.
Good.
And I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear more about how TPM can be applied in different contexts. But before we jump ahead, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Sure.
You talked about the importance of identifying those big losses in the manufacturing process. Could you elaborate on those a bit more?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the white paper outlines 6 key areas where those losses typically occur.
Okay.
And understanding them is crucial for implementing TPM effectively. So the first one is unplanned stops.
Unplanned stops.
Which are exactly what they sound like.
Right.
These are those sudden breakdowns or equipment malfunctions that bring production to a screeching halt.
I can only imagine the chaos that those unplanned stops cause.
They're disruptive, costly, and they often require a frantic scramble to get things back on track.
Sure, and then there were those small stops.
Yes.
Which might seem less significant.
Right.
But can add up to a lot of wasted time.
Exactly. Small stops are those brief hiccups in the process.
Okay.
Maybe a jammed machine or a minor technical issue. Okay. It usually lasts less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But they disrupt the flow.
Right.
And can significantly impact your overall efficiency if they occur frequently.
I see. And then, of course, there are planned stops.
Yes. The necessary evils.
Right. The scheduled downtimes for things like routine maintenance, cleaning, or changeovers.
Precisely. We can't avoid planned stops altogether.
Right.
But the key is to optimize them.
Okay.
Schedule them strategically. Make sure you're making the most of that downtime.
Right.
And minimize the impact on your production schedule.
That makes sense. What about when machines are running, but they're not running at their full potential?
Right.
The white paper calls those slow cycles. Right.
Yes, slow cycles occur when machines run slower than their ideal cycle times.
Okay.
And this can often indicate underlying problems with the equipment.
Right.
Or the process that need to be addressed.
So it's not a complete stoppage, but it's still...
Right, it's still a drag on your productivity.
Gotcha. And speaking of drags on productivity, can't forget about defects.
Yes, the dreaded defects, those imperfections that lead to rework, scrap, wasted materials.
Quality control is so important.
Oh, it's crucial. Defects not only impact your efficiency, but also your customer satisfaction and your bottom line.
Absolutely.
And then we have startup losses.
Startup last.
Which refer to the losses that occur after equipment startup or changeovers.
Gotcha.
Think about the time it takes to get those machines running smoothly again, adjust settings, potentially rework any initial faulty products.
It's like that warm-up period where things aren't quite up to speed yet.
Exactly.
So recognizing these 6 big losses is like having a roadmap
It is.
to TPM success.
Absolutely.
By understanding where those losses occur,
Right.
you can really focus your efforts on minimizing them.
Exactly.
And maximizing your productivity.
It's like identifying the leaks in a pipeline.
Right.
So we can patch them up and improve the overall flow.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the technical aspects of TPM.
Yes.
But I think it's important to remember that it's not just about those technical fixes and process improvements.
It's about empowering people too.
Oh, right. Like with autonomous maintenance. Where we talked about putting the responsibility for routine maintenance in the hands of the operators.
That's right. Giving them the ownership to keep it in top condition.
But doesn't that require a pretty significant shift in mindset?
It does.
For both the operators and the management team?
It does, but that shift in mindset can be incredibly powerful.
How so?
When operators are involved in maintaining their own equipment, they become more invested in its performance.
Okay.
And are more likely to spot potential issues early on.
Right.
It's like taking pride in your own workspace and tools.
It makes sense. They're the ones who know those machines best.
Exactly.
What about the maintenance technicians?
Yeah.
Doesn't this approach kind of diminish their role?
Not at all. It's not about replacing technicians. It's about enhancing their work with the operator's first-hand knowledge.
So they're working together.
Exactly.
Okay.
And plus, the white paper highlights that when operators are more familiar with their equipment, they're better equipped to provide valuable insights to those technicians when more complex repairs are needed.
So it's kind of a win-win situation where everyone works together.
That's the goal.
To achieve that shared goal of perfect production. It's still important to have that human element. That expertise and intuition.
Absolutely.
To interpret the data and make those critical decisions.
It is. Technology is a powerful tool, but it's not a replacement for human expertise.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance.
Right.
Using data to inform your decisions, but still relying on the knowledge and experience of your team.
And that kind of brings us back to that story we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
The South African petrochemical plant.
With all the reason codes?
With over 1,100 reason codes for job failures.
Right.
It was a perfect example of having too much data.
Yes.
But not enough information.
Exactly.
Their data was so disorganized. It was masking the real problem, parts availability.
Exactly. 1,100 reason codes. They needed a serious dose of simplification.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's exactly what they did. They implemented a mobile maintenance app to standardize their data input.
Okay.
They chose Sigga's mobile maintenance solution, which helped them streamline their data collection process. Ensuring consistency and accuracy, it allowed them to see the big picture and identify that root cause of their productivity issues.
That's great.
And that's the power of well-structured data.
Right.
It empowers you to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
Allocate resources effectively, and drive those continuous improvement initiatives.
It's like having a clear roadmap instead of wandering around in the dark.
Exactly.
But all this talk about data and technology might feel kind of overwhelming.
It can.
Especially for companies that are just starting their TPM journey.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
I would say start small, but think big.
Okay.
You don't need to implement a massive system all at once.
Right.
Pick a pilot area, focus on collecting the right data, analyze it, and then gradually expand your efforts as you gain experience and confidence.
So it's like a step-by-step process.
It is.
Using data to inform those continuous improvement efforts.
Yes.
And ensure we're on the right track.
Absolutely. But data alone isn't enough.
Right.
We still need that human element.
Of course.
There's people who are passionate about making things better.
That makes sense. And that brings us to focused improvement.
Yes.
That pillar that's all about embracing the Kaizen philosophy.
Right. Those small incremental improvements that can add up to significant gains.
But how do you foster that culture of continuous improvement?
Yeah.
How do you get everyone on board
with
this idea of constantly seeking ways to do things better?
That's a great question. It requires a supportive and encouraging environment where people feel comfortable taking risks, experimenting with new ideas, and learning from their mistakes.
So it's about creating a safe space for innovation.
Exactly.
Where failures are seen as opportunities for learning and growth.
Yes.
Rather than something to be punished.
Absolutely. And that's where leadership plays a crucial role.
Okay.
Leaders need to set the tone, encourage that open communication, and empower their teams to take ownership of those improvement initiatives.
So it's about leading by example, showing your team that you're committed to continuous improvement.
Exactly.
And that you value their contributions.
Absolutely. And remember, focused improvement isn't limited to the factory floor.
Right.
It can be applied to any process or area of the business.
That makes sense.
Think about your marketing team, your sales team, your customer service team.
Right. Anybody.
Everyone can benefit from that Kaizen mindset.
It's a way of thinking.
It is.
A commitment to always seeking better ways of doing things.
Exactly.
No matter what your role is.
Absolutely.
But how do we measure the impact of all these focused improvement efforts?
Right.
How do we know if those small changes are actually making a difference?
That's where data comes in. Again, it's crucial to track your progress.
Okay.
Measure the impact of those improvements and identify new areas where you can make those incremental gains.
So data plays a dual role in focused improvement. It helps us identify areas for improvement.
Yes.
And then measures the effectiveness of those improvements.
Exactly. And by combining the power of data analytics with that human-centered approach of involving everyone in the improvement process, you create a really powerful force for positive change.
It's a beautiful synergy.
It is.
Of data and human ingenuity working together to drive continuous improvement.
I like that.
But this is a lot to take in.
It is.
I'm sure our listeners are wondering how all these concepts can be applied in their own lives.
Right.
Even if they're not working in a traditional manufacturing setting.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, we have. We explored the 8 pillars, the power of data, and that continuous improvement mindset.
Absolutely. We even uncovered some of those hidden big losses.
Oh, yeah.
Lurking in your processes.
Those sneaky productivity drains.
That can really add up.
To our listeners, whether you're on the factory floor or in the boardroom, or even just trying to streamline your daily routine.
Right.
Remember, TPM is all about engaging people, optimizing processes, and leveraging data to achieve those continuous improvement goals.
Start small, think big.
Start small, think big, and always strive for that perfect production, whatever that looks like for you. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of ideas that matter.